There's an extra cup down there if you want it.
Yeah, I was looking for it.
Somebody steal it?
I think I'll be all right.
There it is, man. Hey, when you get a chance, go ahead and get him done.
Oh, shit. Yeah, can I steal Taylor, can I steal you for a second? Welcome into the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky, Marc Farzetta, along with Seth Joyner and Derrick Gunn for the season finale. Eagles will attempt to go to match a franchise record 14th win of this regular season. They will be without Jalen Hurts today. They will be without Darius Slay today. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Nakobe Dean, Saquon Barkley, Zach Bond, Lane Johnson, joined by Lotta, Landon Dickerson, and Jalen Carter are all inactive today.
This is going to be a fun game to watch.
This is going to be like a glorified preseason game.
Those are the inactives that just got released, and that's exactly what it's going to be. It is going to be a glorified preseason game, but still, no preseason game has a little bit of history on the end of it, and the history today is that the Eagles could get their 14th win of the season with Tanner McKee at the helm, but they will not be making history today with Saquon Barkley going for the all-time rushing record. The 40-year mark set by Eric Dickerson, 2105, will not be obtained. We found that out earlier in the week. Seth Joyner, you have had a strong and firm opinion on this, really since it came into view for the possibility of this happening. One final time, where are you at when it comes to Saquon Barkley and this Eagles team not going for that historic run?
Hey, listen, I'll never change because I don't live on the side of fear. You know, football is the game of football. I knew yesterday as I watched the Baltimore Ravens, game that, what was going to happen when Zay Jones got dinged up. Oh, that's exactly what Nick Sirianni is trying to keep from happening. I knew that people would bombard me with that. But you don't play the game, from a fear standpoint. That's just something that happened. He could have went into next week's playoff game and bumped knees with somebody the same way and had the same thing happen. So you protect him this week to get him the next week, and he gets hurt anyway. It's just the nature of the game. And we're talking about history. I was thinking about this. This morning. From a historical standpoint, what kind of records do the Philadelphia Eagles as an organization hold? We hold some ugly distinctions. It took us 57 years in the modern Super Bowl era to get one. But we don't get many positive, records of many positive accolades from a historical standpoint as far as, the Eagles organization is concerned. So I just felt like, this was something, and I felt like it would be a feather in the cap of not only Saquon, but the offensive line. And I just believe that football players play football. They want to play. The Baltimore Ravens played all of their guys. Yeah, they were playing for the division championship, but I think they had a pretty good idea that the Bungles, or that the Steelers would figure out a way, to screw it up and give it to them anyway. I looked at the Detroit Lions last week, and they put their top players out, and they played a whole game against the San Francisco 49ers. Players want to play. Because when it's all said and done, when the game is over, and you're never going to put that uniform on again. You're never going to go out and play another game when it's all said and done. I'm not with this whole protectionist movement that I see in the National Football League now, because you just never know when an injury is going to come. And you protecting a guy this week to spare him for next week doesn't guarantee you're going to have him for 60 minutes the next week.
I the same thought of you. I flip-flopped. I didn't want him to play, and as he got closer and closer to it, I was like, let it ride. Let's go. Because just because he goes for the record doesn't mean that all of a sudden that takes away your Super Bowl chances. Obviously, he gets hurt in that last game of the year. If he gets hurt in the last game of the year, everyone's going to look to that and say, no, this was the wrong decision. You had to play not scared, but smart and not play him. That's the way they would angle it. But, Gunnar, I have two questions for you. Where do you stand on not playing him? And who made the decision? You're obviously very tied into that NovaCare complex. How did they come to this decision? First, pro or against playing him, pro or con, and who made the decision?
Well, I'll start out by saying this. I saw OJ do it, 14 games. I saw Eric Dickerson do it in 16 games. This is the 17th game. Their primary objective last week was to get him over 2,000 yards to become one of only 9 players ever to pass that 2,000-yard threshold. I'm fine with that. I know it is important for the city of Philadelphia. It is a historic moment for the city of Philadelphia. From a fan perspective, I would have liked to have seen it, but when I started talking to some people on the inside looking out, I thoroughly understand their decision. They're playing against the Giants team, and you got a bunch of guys over there that are playing for jobs, okay? You got a bunch of guys that realize they're not going to be there next year, and they want to get some good tape for the agents out there to solicit to other teams. And you got players that are playing for bonuses. You've also got players that are playing for future contracts if they want to stay with that Giants organization. They're going to give it a little bit extra today. A little bit extra hit, might be a little bit too much extracurricular stuff. What I saw happen to Zay Flowers yesterday, I said, that was it for me. And I understand where Seth is coming from. You don't play scared. And I don't like to live by, I hate to even say this, I don't like to live by the what-if scenario. But if Saquon went out there and some young cat out there just took an extra shot and caught him on the knee just right, everybody in the tri-state region, including us, will be sitting here screaming after the show and our post-game shows tonight, the Eagles organization is dumb. You never should have played them, yada, yada, yada. We go back and forth. We would go back, and let's be honest. We would all be saying that. Mm-hmm. Now, if he busts out, whether they're playing the Packers or Washington next week, hit 150 yards, and they just steamroll, all right, we're happy then. But what if he didn't get to that point? And I understand. Seth brings up a very good point. What records historically do the Eagles hold, not just within house, but nationally speaking from a historic? Not many, okay? So this was that one opportunity. Lane Johnson was very clear after the game last week. don't get greedy. And he came out and said it again in the middle of the week, don't get greedy. Mulata wanted to play, and then Mulata changed his voice once it got to the middle of the week. I understand where they're coming from. You got the best offensive line in the game right now. You got the premier running back in the game right now. You have two of the elite wide receivers in the game right now. Hey, they lost AJ last year in that meaningless game, and look how their offense fluttered in the playoff game first round against Tampa Bay.
They wasn't going nowhere anyway.
I get that.
They didn't have a snowball chance in hell last year.
It would have been a better performance than what they put out there with AJ on the field.
Yeah.
So I get it. I want to see what he does next week when the game that counts. As for who made the decision, it was a collective decision. Nick obviously had to talk to the people upstairs. They had their input. Nick talked to the players. They had their input as well. You could tell Saquon wanted that record. Now, he started off in his comment by saying, well, it's the team first and all this good stuff. And then as he continued his dissertation, you could tell it meant something to him because it's something he never would have got close to with the Giants organization. And let's face it, teams that go to Super Bowls, look how hard it is for them to get back the next year, i.e. unless you're Kansas City or back in the day the New England Patriots. Look how hard for the most part it is for teams to get back to a Super Bowl. He may not even get close to this because everybody's going to be gunning for him next year. This is that one shining moment, that song they like to use in the NCAA tournament, one shining moment. This was his one shining moment. He knows it.
Can you give me a verse? Give me a verse.
I could, but I'm going to save it for something else.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I use some Luther Vandross.
See, to me, that's exactly the reason why you do it. Because the likelihood of him getting back to 1,600 yards next year, aren't that likely. I see people that say, oh, he'll get it next year. No, he won't. No, he won't. I mean, Derrick Henry is one of the only running backs in the history of the National Football League to have 3 seasons in his career where he's had over 1,500 yards rushing. It's just, it's the anomaly. And if you live your life in the realm of what if, okay, then people wouldn't have successes, technologies wouldn't advance, societies wouldn't advance if the people who had the foresight to push forward and do what no one else would do had the what-if mentality. You just wouldn't venture to strike out and do something different or to do something that's uncommon. So to me, that's why you do it, because you're in uncommon territory. And when you're in uncommon territory, you have to take advantage of that opportunity. Now, listen, that being said, it is what it is. I could see the disappointment in Saquon's face, like D. Gunn said. He was disappointed. I think that was an opportunity for him to play today and to get the record, an opportunity to take the confidence of the team, to another level. Because when those players get out there and you do something like that, now all of a sudden, there's this sense of accomplishment. There's this sense of confidence. There's this sense of bravado that takes your team to another level, And then on the what-if spectrum, what if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, okay? What if they go out next week or the week after and get the brakes beat off them? What if then? I said earlier in the week on WIP that I'm heartbroken for Saquon because if they don't win the Super Bowl, okay, he will look back at this as a regrettable moment for the rest of his life. Now, he said all the right things and he did all the right things because he's a team player, okay? But sometimes when a team player is looking out for the team needs to look out for the individual when he's given them as much as he's given them this season.
Okay, Seth, so let's say the Giants, the porous Giants, who were 31st in the league against the run, let's say they stacked the line of scrimmage like Dallas did last year and hold Saquon at like 40 yards. Are you putting him back out in the third quarter?
Well, listen, they're not going to hold him to 100 yards. They're the 31st ranked run defense in the league. Stack the box, if you will. We'll slant you to death with A.J. Brown. You don't have a soul over there or whoever. Well, Devontae Smith, because, listen, if you're going to play Saquon, that means you're going to play the line. If you're going to play the line, that means you're going to play the wide receivers, okay? So we'll slant you to death. We'll beat you to death on the outside and make you get out of that in order for us to be able to get what we need. And the thing about stacking the box, D-Gun, is how you coordinate your runs, okay? So most of the time you're in a 7-man front. Okay, so if you're in a 7-man front, that means that there's a free hitter, a free guy that's dropping in the box. The way that you beat the 7-man front, the extra guy in the box, is you run away from the weak side defensive end. Because if you run away from the weak side defensive end, you don't have to block him. He can't run it down. He's really taught not to try to run it down, because if you go play action pass and you boot the other way, the quarterback is out the gate. So there are ways. The Eagles haven't always only had success. Like when they played the Rams, Saquon's 2 70-yard runs, those were against loaded boxes. They just had it blocked up the right way. So listen, I get it. We're crying over spilt milk right now, because the fact of the matter is, he's deactivated. He's not going to play today. He's not going to get the record. I hear people say, oh, well, Eric Dickerson, did it in 16 games. So O.J. Simpson did it in 14. But we still revel in the fact that Eric Dickerson did it. If Saquon was to do it today, he would have done it in less carries than Eric Dickerson did it in. So who cares? But at the end of the day, spilt milk, it is what it is. We have the what's the word I'm looking for? We have the joy today of watching a preseason game.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me counter with this then. I don't think the Giants give one iota about winning this game today. And here's why. They screwed up last week and gave up the number 1 pick in the draft by winning a football game. They win this game today, they drop down to number 10 or possibly lower.
Well,
you think that organization can? So the pride is involved here. The fact we got embarrassed on a Hard Knock show back in the summer when we said, I hope Saquon doesn't go to the Eagles. Where'd he go? Philadelphia Eagles. You think they wanted the embarrassment in the last game of the season? They've been embarrassed the whole damn season. You think they want the embarrassment of having this man roll up and down all that back? I want all 11 guys standing at the line of scrimmage. I don't care if AJ or whoever's out there. I don't care if Johnny Wilson goes for 250 yards receiving. I don't care if Brett Covey, whoever the heck's out there, catch 500 passes. Do not let Saquon get 100 yards in that first half.
Well, listen. The mentality of going out and beating the Colts the way they beat the Colts last week, look where that put them. Now they're at 4th in the pecking order, okay? Why didn't the owner call down and tell the head coach, hey, get them guys out of there and put some other guys in there? We need to maintain our position. If they win the game today, if they come out fighting today, D-Gun, they're going to move from 4 to 10, completely out of position to be able to pick the player that they want. Now, they don't have the luxury of doing that now, because they salted that away by winning last week. But listen, I've been on teams that's in the position of the Giants. The majority of these guys, listen, they got their U-Hauls packed and running in the in MetLife parking lot. They got reservations for trips already planned. They got tee times made. The last thing on these guys' mind is playing this game today. Now, you got some guys that's got some pride, and they're going to come out and they're going to fight. This coaching staff is fighting for their lives, so they're trying to motivate these players to come out and fight. But listen, if they were that good at motivating this football team, they wouldn't be sitting where they are right now. The Eagles are supremely better in every facet. And if and I don't care if you put them out on the field 10 times in a row, the Eagles will beat the dog breaks off of them 10 times in a row. That's just a fact.
All right, fair enough. Let's hope they get to those tee times. Speaking of U-Hauls, the stuff that you've been able to give out this year, Seth Joyner, the giveaways could fill a U-Haul. Football helmets, signed football helmets, footballs, jerseys, tickets, the whole shebang. We're giving away, a Brandon Graham jersey in the post-game show?
Yes. So make sure that you guys that are tuned in now, make sure you tune in the post-game, because we're going to give the Brandon Graham jersey away to one of our faithful and loyal viewers today in the post-game show. We're not even going the social media route. Whoever's on there, we're going to give away the jersey, and we're also going to give away a mini helmet and a signed football as well.
All right, fantastic. When we come back, if you missed it, Saquon officially inactive today, as is Jalen Hurts, as we expected, as is Devontae Smith, as is A.J. Brown. Who will be playing today? We'll break that down, as well as who's going to be playing for the New York Giants as we go behind enemy lines. That's when we return on the betPARX pregame show, presented by Lehocky. There it is in all its glory. betPARX Casino in Ben Salem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com. It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello?
This upcoming segment is brought to you by betPARX. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn. Opening segment, we talked about who's not playing today, agree or disagree, and Saquon Barkley not going for history, the all-time rushing record, but who is playing today. We know who the inactives are for the game today, obviously. We have Kenny Pickett at the starting quarterback. Most likely Kenny Gainwell is your RB1 behind the line of scrimmage tonight. There'll be a bevy of substitutes playing on that offensive line as well as on the defense in general. But of all the guys that you'll be looking at today, I know most of us are going to be looking at Kenny Pickett. So let me just start it off with this. Tanner McKee.
I was going to say, what?
I just saw.
I think that man's got a cracked rib. I'm not letting him near the field today.
Well, here's what's interesting, and this is what I just saw it come up from Adam Schefter reporting that Kenny Pickett is inactive today, yet he is not listed as inactive on the Eagles list. So I assume anyway, he's not playing. Bottom
what
line.
happens when you assume, right?
Well, he's not lipped. So now he's going to be starting. Shefty making out of you and me. So when it comes to the starting quarterback today, Tanner McKee, what are your expectations for him today, especially given the offensive line he's going to have, the running back he's going to have, and the receiving core he's going to have?
I expect him to continue making progress like we saw him make last week. See, this is an important game for Tanner and the Eagles organization because Kenny Pickett may not be here in 2025. So could Tanner McKee be your backup quarterback in 25? I know they love the kid. They love developing young quarterbacks. And he showed a lot of promise. He was 3 for 4 last week, 2 touchdown passes. That's not bad against a Dallas team that was embarrassed, but a Dallas team that was playing hard. So this is a continuation in his progress. I heard him speak earlier in this week about there's some things he could clean up. And it's tough because a lot of the guys he's playing with today, he has only had a week's worth of getting on the same page with him. So it could be a little ragged, but I want to see him drop back. I want to see him read a defense. I want to see him deliver balls to runners in stride. I fully expect to see it based on what I've seen of him in the past.
Mm-hmm. Tanner McKee, what do you expect today from him?
Oh, listen, I've been a Tanner McKee fan for a long time. I just want to see him come out, with an extended amount of plays and be able to, continue to show how good of a passer that he is. I still stand on the statement. I think that he is the best pure passer on the Eagles roster right now when it comes from just a pure throwing the ball standpoint. I think he throws the ball on time, on rhythm, with great accuracy. He's decisive. So I'm excited to see him, be in a position where he can play a full game, not a quarter, not a half, but a full quarter, and see what he does. I just wish that, we could see him, under these types of circumstances with an offensive line that we really believed in.
Sure.
Because I think that's, a quarterback's development and how we view them in the preseason has a lot to do with how he's protected. If Tanner was playing behind the starting offensive line, I think that we really see some really, really good stuff. A la last week, three completions, two touchdowns, and just the drives. I mean, he led the Eagles on drives of 8 plays, 65 yards, touchdown to A.J. Brown, and then 7 plays, 75 yards, 25-yard strike to Devontae Smith last week. So, when you consider the minimal amount of work that he had with the ones, I'm excited to see, him get his opportunity for his first NFL start today.
All right, well, let's look at it like this. There's 2 scenarios that surround Tanner McKee today. Gunner, you touched on one already, and that came to the idea that maybe Kenny Pickett isn't here next year. Maybe he's elsewhere. So I want to know that you at least have a good backup quarterback in Tanner McKee, and maybe he could further that theory today with the way he plays. The other aspect of this, though, is nothing we haven't seen before. What you can do in the last game of the season, what you could do in just a little bit of reps. Like, you look at a guy like A.J. Feely, for instance, all those years ago. The Eagles flipped him for a second-round pick just like that. Sure. That was a while ago. You look a little bit more recent. Matt Flynn signed himself a contract of, $28 million with Seattle before they decided to go to Russell Wilson in his rookie season, and that was after a 6-touchdown pass game in a meaningless game for the Packers. So there's good things that can happen, and one of the things I thought was funny, not going to happen today? Not going to happen today?
Well, no, listen, it could happen today. They ain't flipping Kenny Pickett, for a cheap.
Oh, no, I'm saying Tanner McKee.
No, you're not. You don't want to flip Tanner McKee.
Look at that reaction.
Seth off right now.
Yeah, how dare you let him go? I'm just saying is all. He threw that 1 touchdown pass last week, and they got the shot of Howie Roseman already beep-bop on his phone. They're answering text messages, probably already getting offers for the kid.
Hey, listen, you got to have a viable quarterback, and while Kenny Pickett's done an admirable job, there's a reason why, as a first-round draft pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers, jettisoned him, out of Pittsburgh. And I still believe that the Eagles need to go and find that young quarterback that has the skill sets, a similar skill set that Jalen Hurts has, to be their backup long-term, so that when Jalen does go down, they don't have to reimagine the entire offense. But a guy like Tanner McKee, as young as he is and as cheap as he is, you don't let that kind of talent walk out. So if I had to make a choice between keeping McKee or keeping Pickett, I'm waving bye-bye to Kenny Pickett all day long.
Fair enough. All right, that's going to be a quarterback today. That's what we expect from Tanner McKee. And for the record, I do expect a pretty solid game from Tanner McKee today. Anybody else on the Eagles right now, offense or defense, that we're going to see today? Jahan Dotson could be getting a lot more significant more playing time, significantly more targets today. Same thing with Kenny Pickett. Anyone on the offensive line, defense? Seth, I'll ask you first. Anyone you're going to be focusing on in that Eagles black jersey today?
I'm excited to see, young Jeremiah Trotter, get some extensive playing time today. Because in light of, Zach Bond becoming a Pro Bowler, the price has gone up on us being able to re-sign him. Now, in his heart of hearts, he got to feel like, he's, in my opinion, he may have some loyalties to the Eagles for giving him, this opportunity. But I still believe that the Eagles need to continue to develop these young linebackers, just in case, you have the injuries. And, listen, they drafted young Trotter for a reason, not just because his dad played here, but because, throughout his college career, he's been a pretty darn good linebacker. And I think at his core, when you watch his skill set, I believe that he might be the best pure linebacker, because he knows how to play the position. I think he may be the best pure linebacker on the roster that doesn't have the experience and doesn't have, he's not ready at this point in time to step into, the role as a starter. But you never know what's going to happen with Zach Bond. Mm-hmm. Somebody may look at him and make him an offer that he can't refuse, not necessarily an offer that the Eagles, wouldn't refuse, but an offer that he can't refuse. And being in the league as long as he's been in the league, I can't imagine his salary has been, anywhere north of $1 million a year. He's certainly deserving of that. He earned that this year. So what does that look like? The Eagles spent $6.5 million last year on the entire linebacking core. That is insanity to me. You talk about going on the cheap, and then you wonder why, we've struggled at that position and why we struggle stopping the run so much. In my opinion, it's because we don't value that position. I think that the Eagles' ability to be ranked in the top 10 in run defense at right around 100 yards, 102 yards a game going into last week's game, I think that can be attributed to the fact that you finally got some darn linebackers on your team.
Hopefully that changes with a linebacker more or less being handpicked by Vic Fangio. Who are you looking at today, Gunner?
Well, I'm with Trout. I'm with Seth. I want to see young Trout, the young Axeman. We've seen him sporadically throughout this season, and he's made some plays for the team. I want to see him get extensive playing time. I want to see a little bit more from this Jalen Hunt also. I think he has a lot of promise as well. So I expect him fully to get some extended playing time along the defensive line as well today. These are the type of games organizations can get a better look. Preseason games, you think you know what you have. But in a game like this, you get a better look in terms of this game doesn't count for the Eagles, but it counts for a lot of these young players. And these guys are going to be fired up to show what they can do, because also it's going to give them, the organization, a sense of going into the draft in 25. Okay, we feel pretty good at this position, so we can focus on some other positions and come back to this position if we need to later in the draft. So those are the two players that really, and even Johnny Wilson. I want to see him play extended time today. I mean, he's a big, rangy receiver. I want to see him get 10, maybe 15 balls, thrown his way today.
I want to see him catch the damn ball.
All right, that too. I want to see him.
That's nice to have.
I don't want to see him be like George Pickens yesterday.
Oh my Lord!
Did you see that? Woo, that man was playing with oven mitts on yesterday, and Pittsburgh fans booed him out of the stadium. But yet he's always griping about being a number one receiver. He couldn't be number 5 on my depth chart right now.
All right, that's who we're looking at in an Eagles jersey today. Let's go behind enemy lines and see who we're going to be featuring today on that New York Giants team. When we're talking about the New York Giants, we're talking about New York Giants defense. Brian Burns is the guy I'm going to be looking at on their defense. If you look at what he was able to do against the Eagles back in Week 7, had a tackle for loss, had 2 quarterback hits. He also had a sack in that game. He's got 8 sacks so far in the season. Desperately wants to get to 10, and he's going to look at this as an opportunity without Jordan Mailata or Lane Johnson playing in this game as an opportunity to get 2 sacks in his bag to get to 10 on the year. So Brian Burns is the guy I'm going to be looking at. Also, he knows he has a quarterback that's inexperienced in Tanner McKee, so he's going to want to take advantage of that today. So I desperately want the Eagles to get still to 14 wins, get that again for the organization, get that again for their head coach, and let's get a W next to the starting record of Tanner McKee. Let's get that happening today. Brian Burns could stand in the way of that. Derrick Gunn, who are you looking at on the Giants today?
I like the young running back Tyrone Tracy Jr. I liked him when he was at Purdue. He was a 5th-round pick of the Giants this year. The Giants have not had a lot of positivities coming out of that organization, but this kid at 5'11", 210 is a hard runner. He's only had 3 100-yard games, and the last time he had 100-yard games, my goodness, was back on November 10th against Carolina. But he's a leading rusher. He averages 4.4 yards per carry. He has almost 800 yards rushing. I look for him to get a lot of touches today. The last time the Eagles saw him back in October, they were so far behind they had to throw the football. He only had 6 carries for something like 23 yards. So I want to see him as well. I like a lot of these young running backs who are not the 1st or 2nd round backs, but these 2nd, 3rd to 5th and 6th round backs that are trying to make a name for themselves in the National Football League. He didn't do much against the Eagles, but I like what I saw of him when I saw him a few other times throughout the course of the season.
All right, so that's who you're going to be looking at today in Tyrone Tracy. Who are you going to be looking at, Seth Joyner?
I'm going to go with one Drew Lock. Drew Lock last week against the Indianapolis Colts threw for over 300 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And, oh, by the way, we've seen this guy before, okay? When we went up to Seattle a couple of years ago, it may have been last year, went up there and, he run roughshod all over us and won the game at the end. he's bounced around quite a bit. But after that performance last week, you got to believe that this guy can cause some problems when you think about who's not playing on the defensive line and our inability to get to the quarterback today.
All right, that's what we're looking at on the New York Giants. When we come back, we're going to take a look at what's going on with Jalen Hurts and whether or not we should be concerned. We'll get Derrick Gunn's take on that as well as Seth's, because this has been a weird situation ever since he went down against the Commanders. From the thumbs up to the helmet being on to the blue tent to now being escorted back to the bowels of the Lincoln Financial Field. So what's going on right now with the Eagles starting quarterback? Not for today, at least, but what's going on when it comes to the playoff matchup next week? That's when we return to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The beer garden here at Parx Casino. Enjoy a stein. Enjoy good times.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This is Parx.
This is how you roll. This is how it goes. This is how you pop. This is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you win. This is how you excite. This is how you all night. 360 hit me. Now we're going all in. I can feel it calling. The crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
Parx, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn with you. So what's going on with Jalen Hurts? As you would imagine, head coach Nick Sirianni was asked multiple times throughout the week about the status of Jalen Hurts. Would he even be playing if this was a playoff game? Well, he is still in protocol. The last we heard is he's only advancing through protocol, not out of protocol. The man has played 11 snaps over the last 3 weeks of the regular season. Is that cause for concern? What do we know right now, Derrick Gunn, about Jalen Hurts and his status when it comes to concussion protocol?
Well, it's not a cause for concern until we get to the practice on Wednesday. That's when we find out. If he's still in concussion protocol on Wednesday, that's a little bit concerning. But what is perplexing is why is he still in concussion protocol 2 weeks after the fact? When he initially got the concussion, I immediately texted a few people, and they said the good thing about it was he didn't get completely knocked out because, that's when they really raise the red flag and do extensive tests. And that's when, a lot of times, the players go 2 weeks into a concussion. But, when you look at how it happened, he gets up, gives a thumbs up to the referee. The referee says, time out, no, take you over there. Goes into the tent, comes out with his helmet on, and it's over a quarter before we find out that he's in concussion protocol. I don't know if the organization is just being overly cautious with this. I mean, they don't have anything to protect because he wasn't going to play anyway today. So right now we're all sitting here wondering, why is he still in concussion protocol 2 weeks later when a lot of players come out of it after a week? You know, you go through 5 days of the protocol, you clear by Friday, you play that Sunday. Now, we'll say this, though. Prior to Jalen getting a concussion, the Eagles had 8 players that had concussions. 3 of them played the next week. 5 of them did not.
Okay. So, again, what is going on?
I don't know. Hey, that's the best I can tell you, man.
This is the shadiest concussion I can remember. And like recent memory. You're talking about a moment here, Seth, where he doesn't have the verbal communication with the official. He just gives him that thumbs up. Then he goes to the medical tent. Then he puts his helmet on, tries to go back in the game. They escort him to the back. He doesn't come out. And all the while, we're not hearing anything positive about – we're really not hearing anything about Jalen Hurts. He wasn't ruled out immediately. This seemed to linger for a long time. And then here we are weeks later with it still lingering. Why? Is there anything in the concussion protocol that would prohibit the Eagles from just advancing him through, even if they don't plan on playing him? Like, is there any negative that comes out of it to say he's okay?
I wouldn't think so. I would think that you'd want to get him out of concussion protocol as quickly as you can, not necessarily so that you can get him back on the field, but to play a game, but for practice. I mean, think about this, guys. It will almost be a month next week when Jalen Hurts takes the field. And in that month span, he's had a grand total of 11 to 12 plays in that entire time. So the thing I worry about is being rusty, is being, kind of out of sync. Because if he's still in the protocol, then that means he's not practicing, right, D-Gun?
Right.
So not only has this guy not played, he will not have played for a month, but he will not have practiced for 3 weeks. That's a lot of missed time to take a quarterback and boom, just throw him, into a playoff game with the intensity level up 20% than what it was, in the regular season. And there are no slouches in this year's playoffs, especially in the NFC.
No.
The Eagles will not face a team with less than 12 wins on their record when they take the field and get to the Super Bowl. If they can get there, they're not going to face a team with less than 12 wins. That's crazy. Because normally the number 2 seed is going to get like a 8-9, 9-8 team,
right.
or 10-7. They're going to get something like that. But you're getting a bona fide team, and as you advance in the playoffs, each and every week you begin to play against defenses that are better and better and better and better and better till you get to the Final Four, the conference championships. Now you're playing against the best offensive and defensive coordinators, and they're going to devise plans to be able to stop you. But I think this is problematic for me. I mean, I wouldn't understand why, if he could clear protocol, the Eagles wouldn't push him through and at least get him on the field and have him practicing, which kind of leads me to believe in some ways that this thing is a lot worse than we may have anticipated it being. I said at the time, he just looks like he bumped his head on the ground a little bit. He may be a little woozy, but I think anybody who's played football has been in that situation before where you're a little woozy, and after a while you kind of come back to your senses. But we were also talking in the back about corrections before the show, and I just feel like every time that the NFL makes a correction, and I get it, when you get sued for $760 million as an organization, you have reverberations all the way down the chain. Like when the class action suit happened, my son was playing football and I was coaching. And it affected even youth football because I can remember I had to go on a website and take a coach's tackling exam online just to be certified to coach youth football. And I'm thinking to myself, are y'all kidding me? And it's like, and trust me, it's no small matter because, you can't get to the next question until you watch the entire video and answer the questions that are attached, to that section. And it took me like a day and a half, almost 2 days to get through this. And in my mind, I'm like, this is like ridiculous, So that's that. Then it has reverberations on the high school level. and the collegiate level. And when and anytime adjustments like this are made, what winds up happening is there's an overcorrection. Now, I'm not saying that the protocols that are in place, aren't necessary and aren't needed, because I can't tell you how many times I was probably concussed and they just said, hey, how many fingers you see? If I got the number right, guess what? Oh, coach, he's good to go. So I get it. But I think sometimes you can go overboard at the same time too, because not everybody's concussed to the point where, they potentially couldn't go back into the game and play. But this is the NFL that we're living with. It started off at $760 million. The judge pumped it up to almost $1.5 billion. So when you talk about digging in the owner's pocket like that, this is what we see. And it's not just the concussions, it's the hits across the board and how the game has begun to change and look so different than when I play.
We always talk about the inconsistencies and the rule changes through the years. Go back to last night's Cincinnati game. Joe Burrow gets whacked. He gets up. You look at his eyes. Once they showed that slow-mo replay, you look at his eyes and he takes a deep breath and he's like this. They didn't put him in concussion protocol. He finished the game. Now, his hit looked a lot worse than Jalen's did, but yet here it is 2 weeks out, and we're still talking about Jalen being in concussion protocol.
You know what, D-Gun? This is what I think, too, though. I think Jalen made a massive mistake. You remember a couple of years ago, he was being interviewed. I think he went into the tent and for a concussion look, and he came out of the tent, and after the game, Pam Oliver interviewed him about going into the tent, and he said, well, I beat the protocol.
Yeah.
You remember that? I think in a lot of ways, he hurt himself with that. Because from that point on, the NFL has been like, all right, we waiting. Bump your head again and watch what happens.
Yeah, I passed protocol. Not I beat protocol. Probably would have been the better way to say that. That way it's not like they're up to some challenge here. But here's the overall concern for me. And yes, you could sum it up in one word, rust. But gentlemen, it's not just that. You look at a passing offense against the Panthers just a few weeks ago, where afterwards Jalen Hurts came out and said, yeah, we weren't in sync. You had A.J. Brown saying, what do we need to work on? Passing game. And he said, not just Jalen, but the entire passing game. You have guys like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and you also have Jalen Hurts just pointing around to where players are supposed to be, throwing hands up in the air with total confusion. Again, not in sync. Then they go out against the Steelers, and they right the ship. That was one game. I don't like the idea of my starting quarterback starting the playoffs having made one completion over the last 3 weeks. And that's what we're on the doorstep of. So when you talk about rust, normally for me it's not a huge concern. But when it's coming on the heels of a Panthers game where they couldn't do anything right, one good game against the Steelers, and then one completion for 3 weeks, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that. But hopefully they get that right before everything's over.
Well, as Seth said, you're going to play Washington or Green Bay. And both of those teams need to win today, because if Green Bay wins and Washington loses, Green Bay moves up to the number 6 seed and avoids coming to Philadelphia. But if Washington wins today, Washington holds that 6th seed. Green Bay's coming here. I don't think any team wants to come to Philadelphia in that first round. And both teams will be 12-win teams, as Seth is talking about. How many times do you see 12-win teams as the number 6 and number 7 seeds in the playoff? That's unbelievable. Heck, Green Bay will win 12 wins, and they're going to finish third in their division. That doesn't happen as well. But they have to come through Philadelphia. And I do agree with you, Mark, in the sense that I don't like my starting quarterback not having thrown a significant pass in almost 3 weeks. But
how about no passes?
Okay, but the luxury he has that most teams going into the playoff don't have, except Baltimore, is the fact that Saquon left, Saquon right, until you get some fluidity in that offense. And even if your passing game is off just a little bit, bottom line for the Eagles is they tell anybody lining up across, stop us if you can on the ground. And most teams cannot stop them.
All right, well, we're going to talk about the Pro Bowlers on this roster when we come back, as well as make our predictions for Eagles-Giants and whether or not the Eagles will get to that 14th win of the season. But a bevy of Pro Bowlers here for your Eagles and one huge snub, one Cinderella story and one snub. We'll talk about that when we return on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The betPARX Sportsbook here at Parx Casino. Enjoy a fine leather lounger while taking in all the sports action and winning yourself some cold, hard cash.
It's the most wonderful time. With the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the one.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello? At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Eagles, Giants wrapping up the season today with the season finale, Week 18 in South Philadelphia. Eagles will be wearing their black uniforms today. Hopefully a funeral there for the New York Giants.
All black?
Season. All black, apparently. I think of white pants, possibly. That I don't know.
I've been waiting for the all black with the black shoes, man.
I'll confirm. I'll confirm for you. Gunner, do you know?
I have no idea.
Can you text some people before I look on Twitter?
I have no idea. I don't know.
All right. Let's start with the snub. The Eagles have a number of Pro Bowlers. We'll mention them all in a second here, but I need to know, how does Jordan Mailata not get the nod to the Pro Bowl? Now, we have talked about our speculation of how authentic and how good Pro Football Focus is. Generally speaking, if it supports your argument, you use it. If it doesn't, you don't use it. But Jordan Mailata has been the number one ranked offensive lineman. Listen to what I'm saying. Offensive lineman, not tackle, not left tackle, not top offensive lineman from Australia. No, he has been the best offensive lineman in football according to Pro Football Focus. How is he not a Pro Bowler? Lane goes back. Cam Jurgens in his first year as a starter in the NFL, he makes the Pro Bowl. And then you're also looking at Landon Dickerson going back. How does Jordan Mailata not make the Pro Bowl?
Because somebody had to be the odd man out. There was just no way in hell that they was going to put almost the entire Eagles offensive line in the Pro Bowl.
Eagle fatigue. Stoutland fatigue.
I'm telling you, man. Listen, I've seen it before. You know, even myself, the previous year to the first year when I made the Pro Bowl was probably the better year. But they made me wait a year. You know, it was pretty much like, prove it. With Jordan, you know, Jordan has been, he's already been elected to a Pro Bowl, hasn't he?
Jordan Mailata? No.
No?
No.
Wow, that shocks me. But you know, I
think he was a reserve.
Okay. So the reserve, if an alternate or a reserve, because there's a difference between the alternate and reserve. Because the reserve is the third guy. That means that you're just not the starter, but you're still a Pro Bowler. The alternate means that if one of those guys drop out, then you get in. You know, so it's different. I think the other thing working against him too is that he's a left tackle. You know, and there are some, you know, it happens sometimes with these guys. You know, once you become a starter and you can get to 3 or 4 or 5 consistent Pro Bowls, you kind of get locked in. It doesn't matter how good you play or how bad you play. You just kind of get grandfathered in, and you're the guy every single year. Now, I don't know. I mean, you probably can pull it up and tell me, who the other tackles were or who the left tackle was.
Well, Penei Sewell and Tristan Wirfs.
Well, there you go.
See, the thing is, it's too much of a popularity contest as well. Let's face it, Jordan Mailata is not a household name. All of a sudden, Penei Sewell has been because they play on how many national primetime games?
Well, and they drafted him in the first round.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, D. Gunn, and I apologize for cutting you off.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, where you're drafted and when you're drafted when it comes to the Pro Bowl is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because these teams want to look like geniuses. So when the guy that's drafted in the 8th round makes the Pro Bowl, and the guy that's drafted in the 1st round doesn't make the Pro Bowl somewhere, that doesn't look too good for the GMs and the brains of the NFL that somebody messed up on this guy and drafted him too damn late. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Jordan Mailata, 7th round draft pick, last round draft pick. Penei Sewell, 1st round pick.
Tristan
Wirfs, 1st round pick. Okay? If you don't think that things like that have, play into the equation, I believe you're dead wrong. You're dead wrong because there's no way in the world that you can be a part of an offensive line. Listen, to me, what the Eagles' offensive line accomplished this year is worthy of, in some way, some fashion, every single one of their offensive linemen being named to the Pro Bowl as a starter or as a reserve, okay? But the truth of the matter is you're just not going to see it. You don't see it that often. Like we had, the one time it happened, we had 5 starters off of our defense in the Pro Bowl, and we could have had 1 or 2 more guys that should have been on that team that year, okay? But when you start to get to those numbers, you get to a place where the powers that be that make the decision, they're like, man, that's just too many damn Eagles right there. That's enough. And I think that kind of scenario actually plays into it. And I feel for Jordan Mailata because he has been one of the best offensive linemen, if not, to your point, according to Pro Football Focus. I don't.
We'll do a whole show one day just on your thoughts on Pro Football Focus. But but I will say that I'll take it a step even further. I mean, just forget about offensive linemen, forget about linemen. He was the best player in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus, the highest rated player in all of football. Now, I didn't want to open up arguments between him and Saquon or Joe Burrow or whoever, or Lamar Jackson rather. But
it's a squad that is selected by fans, players, and the league office. So it's a 3-part scenario in terms. And let's face it, fans are going to vote for favorite players. Players are going to vote for favorite players as well. And then league has it, and when you tally all the scores, a lot of times it is that popularity contest. It's just like baseball, just like basketball. A lot of popularity in terms of those who get seen more nationally on TV more. So in Jordan Mailata, for as well as he played, we get to see him exclusively every week, but the national audience is more focused in on Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. They're not even looking at the offensive line. Whose name often gets talked about from a lineman perspective on a national level when it comes to the Eagles? It's always Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson, yeah.
Lane Johnson hasn't given up a sack in 33 games. You don't hear about any of the other offensive linemen except when it was Jason Kelce.
Yeah. I'll say this much. When it came to either the snub of Jordan Mailata or the players that made the Pro Bowl, what the guys had to say about making the Pro Bowl or being snubbed, I thought was wonderful. Jordan Mailata said, well, what's good? What good is the outside accolades if the guy next to me doesn't trust me?
True.
And I said, that's all you need to hear.
Yep.
So what if I'm a Pro Bowl if the guy next to me doesn't trust me? Now, when it came to other guys, Jalen Carter talked about how his mama wouldn't stop screaming with excitement that her baby boy made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Cam Jurgens said, I kind of realized that I was going to make the Pro Bowl when everyone stopped asking me about Jason Kelce. Thought that was an interesting answer. And then I'll go to Zach Bond here, who is the Cinderella story we were talking about earlier. This is a guy that was a special teamer and maybe an edge rusher when he was with the New Orleans Saints, right? Mostly a special teamer. He gets an opportunity where all of a sudden some tape, and this is where we talk about games today, putting that tape, putting that good stuff on film for Tanner McKee or whoever it might be. Zach Bond had done that plenty, apparently, in New Orleans, enough for Vic Fangio to look at and say, I got my inside linebacker here. And he laughed. Zach Bond said this week that he laughed when he got to the Pro Bowler incentive in his contract with the Eagles. And here he is, 151 tackles later, a Pro Bowler with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
There's no better story.
Oh, there's no question about it. we never expected Zach Bond to come in here and be considered arguably the most consistent and best linebacker in the NFC this season. You know, but then again, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and boy, did the Eagles find an untapped treasure in this guy who's about to get paid. He's about to get paid.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He absolutely is.
Look at this. So somebody on my feed, I guess these guys are going back and forth because they talk about Jordan missing 3 games this year and how that may have impacted. But, you know, Micah Parsons missed a lot of games this year, and he got elected to the Pro Bowl. That's what I'm saying. Once you kind of get locked in, you get locked in. Because I didn't see a whole lot out of Micah Parsons this year. No. Like, he's disruptive, and he's a good player. But I didn't see a whole lot out of him this season that warranted him being voted to the Pro Bowl. That's just my personal opinion.
That's because, Seth, you're looking at the scoreboard, and you got to take away the scoreboard. If you're looking at Micah Parsons, man, take away the scoreboard. Geez. You take away the scoreboard if you're making the evaluation appropriately. Just take away the scoreboard. Seth, what if you would have went up to like Reggie White in the locker room and be like, just take away the scoreboard. Just take away the scoreboard, and then we win the game. It's just like that.
Well, when you hear players start making, comments like that, you really realize that we've moved into an era of insanity. Whatever happened to you play to win the game? Hello. Now this dude is talking about take the scoreboard away. I thought we played a pretty good game. Yeah. Man, you out your damn mind.
You look at Micah Parsons, though, his first 3 years in the league, the guy has had a minimum 13 sacks. That's phenomenal for young. Right now he's sitting on 9.5. I thought he would at least get a half sack last week against the Eagles, but then again I said, wait a minute. He never shows up against the Eagles for the most part. So he's got a chance to go against Washington today to get his double-digit sacks. But see, Micah Parsons became a household name early in his career. He was a household name when he was at Penn State, even more so because he played for that organization that's considered America's team. No more, by the way. And so he's obviously going to get some votes. And I have a friend who helps conduct a lot of the voting. They work for NFL Films, and what they do is they go around to different organizations and give players the ballots to vote on this stuff. You know what they told me? The most frustrating thing is you go to one team, you might have 20 players that actually fill out the ballot. You go to another team, you got 45, 50 players that fill out the ballot because the balance is so inconsistent. So you don't get a consistency in terms of honest voting because some players just look at it and go, and just walk right past it.
Well, listen, I sat in the room for those voting scenarios, and I've seen guys just get grandfathered in. We have the conversation. You go by position. Sure. And as a team, you're supposed to talk about it. Obviously, on the offensive side, that carries more weight, for the defense and vice versa.
Right.
But, when we start talking offensive tackles as a defense, it's like we're having a legitimate conversation about who we believe, is worthy of that. Now I study those guys, but I'm going to lean on Clyde Simmons, and I'm going to lean on Reggie White's, recommendation because they're playing against those guys every single down when we play a game against them, But then you got some guys that's just like, oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, yeah, he's been a great player for a long time. Check. They just check them off. They don't even and we get the ballot, but we also get the stats.
Yeah.
So you have the stats at your disposal where you can begin to look through at each position who the stat leaders are in certain relevant categories. And some guys, they got the ballot over here and the stat sheet over here. They never even pick up the stat sheet.
Right.
They don't even know.
All right, fellas, we got to get to our predictions here. First off, our mid-pen bank player to bank on. Gunner, who are you going to go with first here? Who's the guy you're going to bank on?
Why you asking me this, man, about a preseason
Because I asked
game?
the tough questions.
I'm just going to say Tanner McKee.
All right.
I just want to see Tanner McKee get out there and just, continue doing what he did last week and just have a good game and get off the field unscathed.
All right, who are you looking at, Seth?
All right, listen, Tanner McKee, if the Eagles are going to have some success today, they're probably going to have it throwing the football on the offensive side of the ball. That's going to come from one Tanner McKee, in my opinion.
All right. I'm going to go Grant Calcaterra. I'm going to take Grant today.
Hey,
just to be a little different.
Dallas Goedert may play a lot in this game today.
That's right. He's activated. He's off IR.
Yes.
He's not inactive today. So maybe he'll get some running around time out there against the Giants. All right, betPARX has the Eagles right now at -3 going into this game. I'm going to go give you my prediction out of the gate here. 24-21, Eagles win this game. Tanner McKee gets 2 touchdown passes in today's game, and looks like every bit of a backup going into the postseason. How about that?
Okay, all right.
Gunner, what do you got?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. In all the years I've covered this Eagles team, when you drive up 95 and you look at Lincoln Financial Field and you look at Wells Fargo Center parking lot, for a 1 o'clock game, the parking lot is jam-packed by 6 a.m. I saw so many holes in that parking lot today. Man, people are like, I'm not going to this game, man. I'm going to sit at home, watch some of it, maybe get some grilling done, go shopping with the family or something.
Grilling done.
I can't tell you the last time I've seen how empty the parking lot was. When I passed it about 9:45 this morning, brought a tear to my eye because I'm driving up here thinking, man, I don't want to watch this game. There's other games I want to see on TV today, but we do what we have to do. So with that said, excuse me, I'm going to pick the Eagles by default to win this game 24-17.
24-17, says Derrick Gunn. Seth Joyner, what say you?
So when I made my prediction earlier in the week, it was the Eagles in the blowout because I hoped and believed that Saquon would be chasing this rushing record, but I also hoped and believed that Jalen Hurts would clear concussion protocol and at least get out and get his feet wet today. After seeing all the deactivations, I'm throwing my prediction out the window, and I don't give a damn what the score is. I just say I'm just gonna say the Eagles win.
The Eagles win.
Just when you mark me down over there, just put a W. Just put a W over there.
Put 3-0 for Seth. 3-0.
Being that we're at a casino, I'll say on the money line. There we go.
There you go.
The Birds on the money line, just like that. Folks, let's not forget, in the post-game show, you want to make sure you're staying tuned for that. We got a Brandon Graham jersey to give away. Make sure you're following Seth Joyner on all social media platforms. But in this particular case, Seth, right, you got to make sure you're watching the post-game show today. Right here, same channel, Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. And we're going to pick it from the chat?
Yes. If you're interested in winning some stuff, you got to be, and you got to stay on the chat long enough for us to figure out who you are and contact you and, get you what it is that you win. Because someone last week won a mini helmet and a football, and we reached out to them, and we still haven't heard from them. So, they just won't get their gift. But if you want to win, you want a chance to win this Brandon Graham jersey, and you want a chance to win the mini helmet and the signed football, you got to be in the live chat during the post-game show, and because that's where we're going to draw the winner from. And it'll probably be in the first 2 or 3 segments, depending on, how the show flows.
Fair enough. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. And hit that notification as we watch the dawn of the Tanner McKee era.
He need to eat, man.
I'm hungry, man.
It's time to go. I hope they brought you breakfast food, man. We ain't
got no breakfast food.
Good Lord.
There's going to be trouble in that back room. Okay, that right. I want some eggs, a waffle. I want some bacon, some sausage up in here.
That's Derrick Gunn. That's Seth Joyner.
This is Butterworth syrup.
Just go ahead and close the show.
I'm Marc Farzetta. Go Birds.